Welcome back. What just happened in Dallas is the kind of seismic, franchise-altering moment that fans talk about for decades, because the Cowboys have pulled off a blockbuster move no one saw coming, a trade so bold and so aggressive that it has already sent shockwaves across the NFL. Trey Hendrickson, one of the league's most dominant and disruptive pass rushers, is officially a Dallas Cowboy, and the reaction around the league ranges from disbelief to outright panic among NFC contenders. This is the type of move Dallas simply doesn't make during this time of year, a move that signals an organization fed up with the narrative that they aren't all in, a move that tells the entire football world that this front office has finally decided the window is now and that excuses no longer exist. From the moment the news broke, analysts scrambled to figure out how Dallas managed to pry away a top-tier, Pro Bowl-level defensive end who has been terrorizing quarterbacks for years, and the answer is a combination of aggressiveness, timing, and a willingness to send assets out the door in a way Dallas usually avoids. But in this case, the Cowboys simply couldn't afford to wait any longer. They needed a difference maker. They needed a closer. They needed someone who could dominate the line of scrimmage in the biggest moments of the biggest games, and Trey Hendrickson is exactly that. And what makes this even more fascinating is the fact that Hendrickson wasn't even considered available by most insiders until very recently. The Bengals had insisted publicly that they intended to keep their core intact, but internally things were shifting. Hendrickson had expressed frustration with contract talks. The team was quietly evaluating younger players for long-term fits, and Dallas, seeing both opportunity and need, pounced at the perfect moment. It wasn't just a trade, it was a steal executed with stealth, precision, and perfect timing. The Cowboys didn't hesitate. They didn't blink. They didn't try to negotiate this over a period of months the way they typically handle high-profile moves. They hit the phone, made the offer, and sealed an agreement that instantly transforms this defense. And even though the Cowboys have added big names before Brandon Cooks, Stephon Gilmore, Amari Cooper, this one is different because this time it's a player at the peak of his prime, a defensive anchor whose production has been consistent, reliable, and elite. Hendrickson has double-digit sacks in multiple seasons, he's known for high motor consistency, and he brings the kind of edge presence that genuinely changes the entire geometry of an offense. Quarterbacks have to adjust their drops. Offensive coordinators have to slide protections. Tight ends have to stay in and chip. Running backs have to account for him instead of releasing into routes. He forces teams to play differently. The immediate impact this will have on Dallas is enormous, especially when you understand how the Cowboys' pass rush has looked ever since losing some key players and failing to generate the kind of pressure that once made this defense feared. For the past few months, the Cowboys' defensive identity has been in limbo, a once dominant unit that looked ordinary far too often. The pressure wasn't consistent enough. The hits on opposing quarterbacks weren't devastating enough. And in the biggest moments, when top defenses crank up intensity, Dallas struggled to close games. But now, with Hendrickson added to the mix, everything changes. This is one of the most technically sound, relentlessly aggressive, snap-to-whistle pass rushers in the NFL. His first step is explosive, his hand technique is advanced, and his ability to convert speed to power is something coaches rave about. Pairing him with Dallas' existing front creates chaos for offensive lines. It's no longer a defense where teams can double-team one player and feel comfortable. Now it's a defensive front with layers of pressure coming from all angles. And this is where the Cowboys benefit most, not just in sacks and pressures, but in creating turnovers, forcing bad throws, and disrupting rhythms so early in a play that entire game plans fall apart. The locker room reaction has reportedly been electric. Players understand the magnitude of this move. When a front office goes out and lands a guy like Hendrickson, it sends a clear message that they believe the team is capable of a deep playoff run. Veterans feel energized. Young players start to believe something big is building. Coaches suddenly have more tools, more packages, more versatility. And fans instantly feel something Cowboys Nation hasn't felt in a long time, a real sense that this team is refusing to settle for mediocrity or inconsistency. Hendrickson brings a mentality that fits perfectly with what defensive coordinator Mike Zimmer wants. Zimmer has always loved players who play angry, violent, disruptive football. He loves frontline guys who don't just rush but punish, who don't just pressure but destroy protection schemes, who don't just show up but take over. Hendrickson is tailor-made for this system, and Zimmer knows exactly how to weaponize a player like him. Expect stunts, expect wide 9 alignments, expect overloaded fronts, expect Hendrickson lining up on both edges and even sliding inside during key passing downs to create mismatches. This defense suddenly becomes unpredictable again, and unpredictability breeds confusion, which breeds mistakes, which breeds turnovers. What makes this story even better is how rival teams are reacting. Within minutes of the trade announcement, NFC analysts began questioning how the Eagles, the 49ers, and the Lions would respond because Dallas just added one of the few players who can genuinely wreck offensive game plans for those contenders. It's one thing to add depth. It's another thing entirely to add a closer, a finisher, a superstar pass rusher capable of taking over fourth quarters. Philadelphia's offensive line, one of the best in the league, has now been put on notice. San Francisco's timing-based offense now must account for a high-pressure disruptor who collapses pockets with consistency. Detroit's rising offense now has to game plan differently. The ripple effect is massive, and Dallas is once again a headline, not because of drama but because of bold, calculated movement meant to build a championship-caliber roster. And if there's one thing Cowboys fans have wanted for years, it's for their team to stop being passive, stop being cautious, and start swinging big. This is a big swing. This is a swing that could change the season. On the field, Hendrickson's fit goes even deeper than just sack numbers. His presence changes run defense integrity because his edge setting is underrated. He forces running backs to bounce plays outside where linebackers can flow freely. He forces quarterbacks to roll into pressure instead of escaping cleanly. He shortens the field. He narrows the pocket. And when combined with speed rushers on the opposite side, it creates a vice grip effect where quarterbacks feel like the walls are closing from both sides. And here's something that will excite Cowboys fans even more. Hendrickson has one of the highest motor ratings in the league. Coaches say he doesn't take plays off. He doesn't disappear. He doesn't coast. His energy is contagious. That kind of presence elevates everyone around him. Young defenders watch how he practices, how he prepares, how he studies opponents, and it raises the standard of the entire room. That's what great players do. They change cultures, not just box scores. And beyond the field, this trade affects perception. For years, critics have said the Cowboys were unwilling to take risks, too comfortable sitting on cap space, too conservative when big opportunities came. But now the narrative flips. Jerry Jones and the front office have just shown the league that they're not only willing to push chips and they're willing to do it mid-season, without hesitation, to fix weaknesses and weaponize strengths. That shift in organizational mindset is something fans have been begging for. It signals an organization tired of being good but not great, competitive but not dominant, relevant but not feared. Moves like this tell us Dallas is done playing safe. They want to win now, and they're willing to act like it. As the dust settles, one question emerges: how far can this move carry Dallas? And the answer depends on how quickly Hendrickson integrates into the system, how effectively the coaching staff uses him, and how much this sparks the rest of the defense. But one thing is absolute: this move gives Dallas a real, legitimate chance to elevate themselves into that upper tier of teams that can not only compete in January but possibly control games in January. And for fans who have been waiting decades to see a move like this, it feels like the Cowboys finally understand the urgency of the moment. And that is why this deserves to be called a blockbuster, not because it made headlines, but because it changes everything. If you're excited about this move, if you believe the Cowboys just made the biggest trade of the season, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe for more breaking Cowboys news, and stay tuned because this season just got a whole lot more interesting.